So let's define each of these individual terms, what they actually mean, what is their formula. I'm not going to deep dive into a lot of mathematics up here. I think when we are considering statistics, mathematics is important, but the more important factor is how you actually understand those things and how what is their actually significance and how do they work in real world. Okay, so we're going to look at PMF. So PMF is a probability that a discrete random variable can take at a specific value k, right? And here is the formula for you as well. So you can look at the formula if you want. I'm not too keen about the formula. So what it actually means is the probability mass function, right? So probability mass function would give you the probability of a random variable x, right? That can take a specific value k. So what does it actually mean is, let's say we are working on again the movie ratings that we just saw in the previous slide, right? So a movie can take basically a rating from 1 to 5. Now what if we want to find the number of movies that have the rating equals to, right? So we can just definitely take the count that we have for those movies and we are done with it. So this is a discrete random variable because we have discrete values here ranging 1 to 5, and we can take a specific value. In this example, the value being rating is equal to 2. So that would be the probability mass function of that specific the specific experiment. This is for discrete random variable. Up next, for continuous random variables, we have the probability density function. So probability density function is defined for continuous random variables, but it doesn't take actually the probability at a specific value x, right? It takes the value of it takes the probability as the value in the neighborhood of x. Now what do I actually mean about that? We will definitely look into it when we get to practically do a practical of it and look at some code. So I'll definitely explain what it is actually is, because I've seen a lot of people getting confused between the difference of a PMF and a PDF. That's one thing. The second thing is when someone asks what does we have, why do we have the PDF or the probability density function of at a specific position or a specific value x is equal to 0. So not a lot of people are able to understand this concept, but believe me, I'll try to explain you in a really simpler way. We'll try to again give explain. I'll try to explain you with some examples, and then definitely you'll never forget it. Okay, so we have covered the functions, the distribution functions for discrete random variable and continuous random variable. We have another function called cumulative distribution function. Now this one is applicable for both a discrete random variable as well as a continuous random variable, right? And it describes that the CDF is basically the probability of a random variable, which could be definitely discrete or a continuous, that can take a value less than or equal to x. Okay, and it's applicable in both the cases, in both the distributions actually. So what does it actually mean is, let's say we are looking for again the movie ratings database, and we want to see the number of movies that have been rated less than or equal to 3, right? In that case, we will use the cumulative one, because it's kind of summing it up all together, right? It's a cumulative sum. That's why it's called cumulative distribution function. Okay, now we have the definitions, we have the formulas if you want to again look at it, but let's see how it works in as a practical.
So now let's look at some practical examples on how we can actually implement them using Python, and how you actually carry out this all these basic statistics functions. So first of all, we have the probability mass function. So probability mass function again maps each value or the each kind of outcome that we have to its corresponding probability. Now let's say we are looking at an example of a die roll up here, right? So a die contains the numbers from 1 to 6, and when you roll a die, you have like equal probability of observing any of the number, right? So we have 6 numbers up here ranging 1 to 6, and when you roll a die, there's an equal probability of each of the number coming up. So each would have the probability as 0.16 or 16.7%. That's 100 divided by the number of outcomes that we have, that is 6. So 100 by 6 is 16.6, something like that. So when we plot that, we can actually see that each of the outcome in the x-axis up here, 1 to 6, has the equal probability somewhere around 16.6%. So that's for a discrete random variable, that is a probability mass function. Now let's do another example, and we have a longer array up here. in sample 2, in the variable sample 2, and here you can see some of the numbers are actually occurring multiple times. So 20 is occurring 2 times, 51 is also occurring 2 times, 64 is occurring 3 times. Now when we plot the kind of the PMF for this, we'll definitely see that. So now the chances of getting of seeing a 64, right, is quite higher because we have more entries of it. Similarly, this chance of seeing let's say 10 or 15 is quite less because we have just one entry of it. So in the similar way we plot this, and we can definitely see that the chances of seeing a 20 is 2 times than seeing the chance of a 10, say an example, and the probability of seeing a number 64, right, is more than probability of seeing the number 51, because 64 is occurring 3 times in our sample set. Okay, so that's what is for PMF. But see, PMF also has this kind of limitation. So here we can see that in the die roll example we have like six discrete values. In the lower example we have around 9 different values, right? So it might happen in the future that when you are trying to find out a probability mass function for a variable, for a discrete random variable, it might contain actually a lots and lots of discrete values, right? Then it's not going to make a much sense. So that's why we need cumulative distribution function as well. So cumulative distribution function, as I said, implies that the fraction of values that are less than or equal to a given specific value s. So in this example, let's say we are looking at the scores of students stored in an exam. We have them ranging from 10 to 50, scored by 5 individual students actually. And when we compute CDF30, so CDF30 actually means the percentage or the number of students or the fraction of students that have received the score less than or equal to 30. So in this case we have 3 students who scored 10, 20 and 30 respectively. So we divide 3 by 5, that's the total number of outcomes or total number of scores that we have. And then we get the CDF30 as 60%. Okay, I hope it was clear. Secondly, what if we want to actually find somewhat of a range? So what if we want to find the probability that a student scores between 20 and 50? So in that case, you might have guessed it right. So what we do is we compute the CDF for 50, we compute the CDF for 20 and then subtract them. So then we'll have the range in between. So that's what I've done up here. Also we can do, so what another scenario is when we want to find the CDF not for less than equal to x but for greater than x. Then what we do is we calculate the CDF for less than equal to x and then subtract it from 1. So 1 is the overall, the sum of all the probabilities that we can expect, and when we subtract it, we'll get the answer that we are looking for. Now, in order to confirm that, we can also plot the cumulative distribution function for the dice rolls that we have ranging from 1 to 6, and if you can see, right, on summing it up, the max value at the last point is definitely 1, because some of all the probabilities could not be more than 1, right? So we have 100% probability up here. So this is what a CDF of a die roll looks like. Now let's come to the main point of PDF, which is actually used the most. Now again, let's revisit the question that we were discussing when I was showing you the presentation. So the reason being that we cannot actually predict, or we cannot actually extract the probability of a continuous random variable at a specific value x is because it's a probability density function, right? So being a density function, it's not calculated at a specific point. It's basically calculated at a unit area, right? So when we are calculating the probability at a specific value x, what we actually doing is calculating the probability at area under the x. Okay, that's what we are doing. Now let's say we want to calculate, we are forcing it to calculate at a specific value x. Now what's going to happen is, if you remember the formula for area, right, and the graph that we are seeing, so the PDF that we are seeing, it's more or less it's going to use the same formula for area that we use for rectangles and square. So it's going to be length into width. Okay, and when we are actually trying to extract the probability at a specific value x, then the width, okay, the width of, as we can see in the figure, the x-axis actually, it's going to be very, very small. It's probably going to be 0, right? So the probability density function, or the area under that specific value x, is going to be 0. That's one thing. That's why we need to take some values before x and a marginal values after x when we want to compute the probability at a specific value x. So that is what happens. So in PMF, trying to use that example again. So in PMF, if I pick a value, say 1, right, and try to find its corresponding probability of occurring, then we can easily find its probability as 16.7%. But PDF is not that simple, given that the probability for a PDF, right, is actually calculated by the area under that curve. Okay, let me give you another example, a more real world example. Now what happens is, let's take the example of rainfall, right? Let's say we draw a distribution of the rainfall received in the Amazon rainforest. Now we want to find the probability of the rain being 3 centimeters. Now in real world, it's practically impossible to find the rain recorded, right, to be exactly 3 centimeters. It's highly probable that the rain that you have recorded, the amount of rain that you have recorded, might be 2.99%. It could be 2.98%. It could be 2.98654, something like that, right? It can also be on the other side, right? It could be 3.000001 centimeters. Right? It's not exactly 3. So that's why so the chances of actually seeing the rain at exactly equal to 3 meters is really low. I hope you understand this. So that's why we look into the small neighborhood of that particular value. So in this case, we'll look at 2.99 to 3.01. Right? So we are covering some kind of area under that, and we are not leaving any kind of errors into it. And that's why the probability for a PDF at a specific given value is always 0, because the chances of that happening is really low. Okay. Now let's plot some PDFs as well. So again, I'm using the Seaborn library, and I'm generating up here 10,000 random variables from a normal distribution, and we are trying to plot that. So you can see it's a beautiful normal Gaussian distribution coming up here, and if you want to try this at your own, you can definitely do that. You can try to find a probability from these 10,000 randomly generated numbers at a specific value. You will definitely get a really low number, which will be definitely close to 0 itself. So let's summarize of all what we have learned so far. So in this video, we learned about random experiment. What a random experiment is: the sample space, that is the universal set of all the possible outcomes. We learned about the event, or the specific outcome from all the outcomes that we have available, and then we learned about random variable, the types of random variable, and we also saw what actually PDF, CDF, and PMF means, and how we can actually implement them in real life. Okay. In the next video, we are going to cover about the basics of all the distributions available that we have available. We're also going to cover some basics of statistics, like the mean, variance, standard deviation, what to use when, what not to use when, what are the benefits of one over the another, right? So make sure you subscribe, make sure you press the subscribe button, and click on the bell icon as well, so that you get notified of all the videos at first. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you learned something new. This was really nice for me, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.